Bullying is about power, trying to target and control another person, abusing someone because it's fun and you know you can get away with it. When you think about it, what kind of person would laugh at another person's suffering? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is humans. Hi everyone, welcome to this month's Patron's Choice video. Every month, the Cup of Coffee patrons get to choose a video topic for me to cover. So this month's topic was chosen by Lois Jean, who asked for a video on workplace bullying and how Aspies could handle it. So in this video, I'm going to share a story of my own of being tortured in the workplace for 6 months. Definitely not fun. I'm going to dispel a myth of what bullying actually looks like, talk a bit about why bullies actually do what they do, highlight two very, very common strategies trying to deal with bullying that actually don't work at all, so we can avoid that. I'll show 3 reasons why people on the spectrum are much more likely to be victims of bullying in the workplace, and finally give 1 really solid overarching strategy that can be used to address all 3 of those reasons. Sound like a lot? Let's get into it. So firstly, I wanted to address this idea that we commonly have of bullying of overt public humiliation, name calling, physical violence, all of that kind of stuff. And maybe you might find that in primary school, but I've found that typically bullying is much, much more subtle than that in real life most of the time. Adults tend to have much more sophisticated strategies like social isolation, withholding information, manipulation of your reputation, passive-aggressive criticism, eroding your self-esteem. All of these things can be used to control a person and get them to believe that they are powerless to do anything in the situation. Bullying is about power, trying to target and control another person, abusing someone because it's fun and you know you can get away with it. When you think about it, what kind of person would laugh at another person's suffering? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is humans. No one likes to think of themselves as a bully, right? But from time to time, we all either engage in or at the very least tolerate this kind of behavior. The biggest difference I've found as to whether I'm happy to go along with bullying or not is if I actually like the person and if I care how they feel. Does that person's suffering matter to you? Does it hurt you as well? Or do you kind of think they deserve it because they've been a jerk to you in the past? When we don't like someone, it's really, really easy to think they deserve it. Oh, look at Johnny over there, sitting all by himself. He never talks to us, does twice as much work as everyone else. He needs to lighten up a bit, don't you reckon? What a stress head, always thinking about work. Let's play a joke on him or something. Yeah, that'd be fun, right? So let me tell you about 2 experiences from my professional career. The first one is a really good example of what bullying is not. So I remember I came into work one day and my colleagues, I'm not even sure who it was, but they basically sabotaged all of my equipment in ways that were not really obvious. They put a bit of tape over my phone, they unplugged batteries, they rewired things on my laptop and changed my desktop screensaver and things like that. And it basically wasted half of my morning trying to find out like a dozen different things that they'd done, and I'd think I'd found them all, and then I'd keep going, and then eventually I'd hit another problem and I wouldn't realize that it was linked to the same thing. And that was incredibly frustrating. But the reason that wasn't bullying is because we actually had a good relationship. We were actually friends, which meant that when I said, "Don't do it again," they didn't do it again because they respected me as a person and they respected my boundaries and what I was happy with and what I was not happy with. So when we like people, we're much, much more likely to respect when they ask us to do something and when they say no. So my other example of essentially being tortured in the workplace for 6 months, and I'm actually really hesitant to share this because even when I say it out loud now, it sounds so little. It sounds like it should be nothing and I should have gotten over it and I have nothing to complain about. But in hindsight, that's the whole point of this power play. It makes you feel like you deserve whatever you're getting. So basically what happened was for about 6 months, my team leader ignored me. Right? I'm not saying he was rude. I'm not saying he was overtly ignoring me. Actually, quite the opposite. He was always extremely polite. It's just that every interaction with him was brought to a close and I was dismissed as quickly as possible with a really plausible reason. I could walk up to his desk and he'd ignore me until I physically tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hi, can I talk to you for a second? I wasn't actually given any work for 6 months. So every time I asked, is there something I can do? I was basically told, oh yeah, just do this for now and I'll come and see you in a minute. And then hours later, days later, I haven't had that follow-up. And whenever I go again to ask about the follow-up, it's as if it never happened. So because of how this team leader treated me, no one else talked to me either, cementing my place as the awkward guy who just sits there and doesn't do any work. I was sitting in a team that was constantly chatting, constantly bantering with each other, and no one was talking to me. I had no work. I was twiddling my thumbs thinking I was useless. I was trying to get some guidance and a job to do from my manager. Nothing was happening and there was nothing I could do about it. And every time I tried, I got shut down really quickly, really politely and really quickly. I was left feeling needy, helpless, completely incompetent, and you can imagine what my performance review looked like for those 6 months. I didn't do any work, I didn't learn anything, so thankfully I finally got transferred to another team, and in this new team, it wasn't amazing, but I would get into the office in the morning and they would say hello, and I would be given work to do, and when I had a question, it would get answered rather than being dismissed for months and months at a time. So anyway, that was a quick example showing how bullying doesn't always need to be really overt things, and sometimes it's the really subtle things that are the worst because it's so hard to prove and so easy to doubt yourself, wondering, is this actually happening or is it all in my imagination? So now I wanted to quickly go over 2 really common strategies to deal with bullying that don't work at all. The first one is just ignore them and hope they go away. This really only works if what the bully is trying to get is a reaction out of you. And even then, it often backfires because if you don't give a reaction, it's just more of a challenge and they'll break you eventually. So in reality, ignoring basically equates to being compliant and not actually doing anything about the situation. The second strategy, which you would think should work, but unfortunately doesn't usually, is making a formal complaint, going up the chain of command, and trying to get help that way. And I equate this strategy to telling the teacher. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was having difficulties in primary school, telling the teacher was not a very effective strategy. Bullies aren't stupid. They know what they can get away with and they know what they're not allowed to do. So they will push the boundary right up into that limit so that if they get told off, it's nothing serious. In fact, in serious cases, I've found that making a formal complaint sometimes makes it worse because what it ends up doing is proving to yourself and proving to the bully that you have actually no power in this situation. In a company where certain behavior isn't tolerated, bullies don't use those certain behaviors because they're not tolerated. Bullies will use behaviors that fly under the radar and are very, very difficult to prove and very, very difficult to enforce with a higher authority. So with that in mind, there are 3 reasons why people on the spectrum are more easily targeted by bullying. And so the first one is that we already stand out. If you're on the spectrum, you probably already seem a little bit odd, or you probably already do something that makes you stand out from the crowd. So if you're looking for someone to pick on, it's an easy target. The second one is that if you're alone, the less socially connected you are, the more easy it is to pick on someone because they don't have friends standing up for them, and it's much easier to get a crowd of people on my side thinking it's funny to frustrate this person rather than thinking maybe we shouldn't be doing this. The third reason, which is actually really sad, is that people on the spectrum often have very low self-esteem. And part of the reason for that is, I know in my case, having a lifetime of people telling me that my social failings were my fault because I wasn't doing the right thing. So in my example that I shared previously, I thought I was doing something wrong. I was so quick to blame myself. He's ignoring me because I'm not doing the right thing. Maybe I'm not asking in the right way. Maybe I am being too annoying. Maybe I am being too needy. How do other people deal with this? I was so used to having problems that I don't talk to people about because no one else has these problems and everyone else can deal with them, that I didn't realize what was going on in the situation. Okay, so they were 3 reasons why we often make easy targets. Now, probably for the bit that you've all been waiting for, what can we actually do about it? I shared 2 strategies that don't work, and the only strategy that I've seen consistently work, and unfortunately it's no magic bullet, but build your social network. Find a friend, find someone you can confide in, find someone you can vent to, find someone who can counter all of those 3 reasons that make you an easy victim. So if I have a friend, I'm a lot less likely to believe the negative self-talk that it's all my fault, because I can talk to my friend and my friend can encourage me and say, no, you're not crazy. This is actually unacceptable. You are actually being victimized in this situation. The more socially connected I am, the more friends I have, the less people are going to be willing to go along with this kind of behavior that's actually hurting me. What I found is that the most powerful way to stop a bully is when someone stands up for me on my behalf in public, showing what's actually going on and how it's not acceptable. If I'm the odd one out, then it's easy to pick on me and think that I'm different and that I deserve it. If I am part of the group, then I deserve the same treatment as everyone else in the group, and it's really hard to single me out if I've got friends who will support me. So to summarize that advice of what to do if you're being bullied, find one person who you can confide in and who is on your side and who can remind you that you do deserve to be treated better. Okay, so that's it for today. I know that was a lot, but we got there. Thanks again to Lois Jean for requesting this topic. And if you'd like to have your say in the topic of next month's Patron's Choice video, you can become a cup of coffee supporter of this channel for less than $1 a week, which means you'll be helping to create more free videos for everyone to enjoy. So check out this link to see the Aspergers from the Inside Patreon page, and there's a lot of other bonus stuff on there for you as well, even if you're not a patron. So this has been the last employment-themed video for this month. The topic for next month is diagnosis, so that's really exciting. So stay tuned and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe for weekly content just like this one. If you'd like to get even more involved, you can join the discussion on social media or support me by becoming a patron. Finally, I value your time, and you'll notice all my videos are ad-free, so please help me to cover what you want to hear by leaving me a comment and telling me what you think. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you another time.